Jakarta, Indonesia. I want to first say welcome. Join in the our sharing session research webinar with the theme about women sport journalists and news representation, comparative research between Colombia and Indonesia. I would like to welcome Mr. Dr. Francisco Buitargo from the Los Libertadores University, Bogota, Colombia, to this webinar. And also, we are appreciate you can be give your time and give your space for today join in this meeting. And also welcome to Bung Karno University student, when this is mostly from the semester 4 or the years in the 2 years in Bung Karno University, and this is a part of the them class to make open space or open research about international perspective in the another phenomenon. Okay, for the time, I will be introduced is Mr. Francisco Buitargo. Maybe first you can give brief your CV and your activity to our colleague and student Bung Karno University. For time and space, I give you.
Yeah. Thank you, Meistra. Good night for you and for the Bung Karno University students and authorities. For me, it's a pleasure to be here. And we talk about our research proposal in the sense of women sport journalists in Colombia and Indonesia. Our country, my country, is very small in the population respect to Indonesia, but in the next 2 decades, the exponential knowledge of women sport journalists is very big. In this moment, we have around 130 women sport journalists in the country, and this aspect is extremely positive for the general equality and for the journalist development in Colombia. For that reason, it's very, very interesting and very important with Dr. Meistra Budiasa, we can continue research about the similarities and difference between Colombia and Indonesia in this topic. For that reason, I am very happy to be here, and my point of view about that is to construct an integral vision about the topic with Dr. Budiasa. And thank you for welcome your university.
Okay, thank you, Francisco. I will be asked to the student, bagaimana, ada yang cukup jelas? Jadi saya jelaskan dulu ya. Jadi kita akan Mr. Francisco ini dari dosen komunikasi di Los Libertadores, Bogota, Colombia. Jadi saya mungkin akan mengambil beberapa intisari dari penyampaian pembuka beliau. Jadi kita sedang melakukan kerjasama penelitian. Yeah, so I tell about we are joint research, right, about wartawan olahraga, women sport journalist in Colombia dan Indonesia. Penelitian kita ini nanti rencananya akan terpublikasi, apakah itu di jurnal internasional. Hopefully our research will be published in international journal or book chapter. Dan tadi beliau mengatakan ya bagaimana wartawan olahraga perempuan di Colombia, ya. You tell about the woman journalist in Colombia. Is very positive growing, ya, jadi sangat positif berkembang. Dan itu tadi kurang lebih penjelasan dari pembuka dari Francisco. Oke, Francisco, maybe could you give us a brief little about the point our research from the Colombia perspective or result, and then I will continue from Indonesia. Okay, for time and place.
Okay, Meistra. But in first place, in my country, the women sports journalism development is very focused on the soccer journalist. You know, the soccer is the most popular sport in Colombia, and in that sense, the women sports journalist is very, very interesting in that item, in the soccer. And
okay, I will be first. Okay, he said, beliau tadi apakah yang jelas? Alan cukup jelas? Apa perlu ditranslate per kalimat? Apa dihabiskan saja? Gimana? Langsung saja ya.
Boleh.
Oke, Arni langsung aja ya.
Langsung aja, Pak. Iya, langsung aja.
Jadi nggak perlu. Oke. Oke, so you can continue until yes. Oke.
Okay.
Okay.
Good. You know, in my country, the old average in the world sports women sports journalism is about 50 years old and 24 years old. It's a new job for the sports journalist woman in my country, and the principal industry are in the press and TV, and right now in the digital media. The alternative media is a key factor for the women sports journalists in Colombia can to work with very big exposition in the audience, because 20 or 30 years ago, the only media focus was the TV, and was extremely masculine field. In this moment, that aspect is in transformation, and I can to understand the woman in this moment, the sports journalist can talk and can work in the alternative media, in digital media, in Bogota, in Medellin, in Cali, and Barranquilla. That was the 4 principal cities in my country, you know, but Jakarta is very big, you know. Bogota have 9 million of population, and Jakarta is more of 20, you know.
Yes. 15, around 15 million or 20.
Yeah. It's necessary you translate or not?
No. You continue.
Okay.
Can, because I will ask is langsung aja ya? Apa pakai translate? Gimana?
Langsung aja, Pak.
Langsung aja. Oke, continue.
Okay, my friend. For other reason, it's important to the difference in approximation at the women sports journalists in Colombia and Indonesia, because the culture and the traditions are very different. You know, in my country, the most of 80% of the population is a Catholic population. In the Indonesia case, that is very different, Meistra. Maybe can you tell me how is the composition in that aspect?
What do you mean composition?
About the religion,
ethnic
in
is
the
very,
population.
yeah, the ethnic is most very a lot, yeah, in Indonesia. But in the you talk religion is also mostly a Muslim.
Muslim, Colombia most Catholic and Indonesia most Muslim, yeah. And that is a very interesting item for the research. And finally, in this moment, I am working with 20 women sports journalists in Colombia with different interviews, different content analysis in the journalist production, and in two fields we are working for. Then in the next months we can compare the results of the interviews and the content, the production content analysis from Colombia with Dr. Meistra Budiasa research in Indonesia women sports journalism.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is in general the vision about our research.
Okay.
And my point of view about the phenomena in Colombia in this moment.
Okay. Thank you, Francisco. Yeah, I will be translate first the point from your speech. Saya akan memberikan poin utama dari Francisco yang mungkin menekankan saja beberapa poin besar atau poin utama terkait apa yang tadi disampaikan oleh Francisco, di mana dari sisi Kolombia ya saat ini perkembangan women's journalist itu lebih banyak di media alternatif ya, karena media-media mainstream itu kebanyakan terlalu maskulinitas ya, sehingga menggunakan so I tell about your women's journalist now is have the media alternative, right? Because in the mainstream media is mostly masculinity view and etc. Kemudian
yeah, exactly.
Ya, exactly. Dan kemudian beliau juga menjelaskan tentang bagaimana mayoritas dari penduduk di Kolombia, di Bogota utamanya adalah Katolik ya, dan itu juga cukup mempengaruhi konten dari media, menganalisa konten dan tentang perkembangan jurnalisme perempuan tentunya di Kolombia saat ini sangat berkembang dengan situasi yang ada. Okay, now I will be little bit presentation. After that, maybe have the answer question to you from the student or etc. for the little bit time. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
I will be sekarang I will be mohon maaf saya akan menjelaskan dengan bahasa Inggris. Jadi I will be presentation in English, a few PPT. Actually this presentation will be present in the Barcelona, right? Because I have the be joined, so now I will be present my view from PPT. Okay, I would like to present from the Indonesia view of the women's journalists and sport representation and news representation in Indonesia view. Okay, I would like present first is about this is my CV. Yeah, you can know. I will directly to the introduction is about how about the women's journalists in Indonesia. Same like in Colombia, is have the increase quite a bit, yeah, but still have the situation is not dominate because especially in the sport journalists or sport news, yeah, mostly still men, And you know, the sport is same. Soccer is very popularity. So in Indonesia, soccer news is more big. Like around last week is Indonesia versus Argentina in Indonesia. Even we are lost, but the stadion is full. Wonder looking Messi. Like your background is have the Messi, but the Messi can be joined in the Jakarta. So just Rodriguez and another player from Argentina can play. But Indonesia lost 0-2. But yeah, women's sport journalists even growing, increase, but have the challenge when the reporting. Now, the stereotype and discrimination, yeah, this is mostly they are meet, and then yeah, we can find in the final result this research. Actually, me and Francisco is interview women's journalist in Colombia, right, in Bogota.
Yeah, my friend, it's exactly. And you know some a particular topic is in Colombia, the development of women sport journalists is the second more biggest in South America. The first place, yeah, the first place is for Argentina. You know.
So the women's journalist in sport journalist in Colombia is second in Latin America.
Yeah, in the women sport journalist is second, and the first place is for Argentina because it's a country with a big tradition in sports, principally in soccer. You know.
Yeah.
Is the world champion.
Yes. So Argentina, the soccer is world champion, and then also the women journalist in the world Latin champions, right?
Yeah, exactly. You know.
That's why the soccer in there is very famous and very growing up.
Yeah.
Okay, it's very interesting data I have about your from the Colombia women's journalist is second largest in the Latin America. It is very interesting to more deeply know, and maybe we can more clearly in our writing journal or a book for the death.
Yeah, and the stereotypes in Colombia, it's other interesting topic because here the aesthetical approach about the woman figure, the woman body, for example, is a traditional item for the audience. You know, the woman, the body of the woman, and the attractive of the woman for the audience. But in this time, in right now, the women sports journalists are transform in the transformation of that stereotype, and she say is more important our knowledge, our professional skills, and not our body or our physical attractive. You know.
Yeah. So the view now is not just body for a journalist woman, but also knowledge and etc.
Exactly.
But in the desk room, in the in the field or in the newsroom, he still have discrimination like the masculine or men journalist in there is woman cannot be writing sport, cannot be writing soccer. Is it still have? You find in the interview?
Yeah, it's other reality in Colombia, and that it's a vision with the woman in this country. The woman is extremely professional and extremely knowledge about the sports, but the stereotype in the society don't recognize that skill, that quality. And for that reason, we are in a transformation process in the last 10 years.
Okay.
And in this moment is its other point of view, and we need to transform, change the mentality in my country.
Oh, so slowly, the point is slowly but sure is have the change view from the society or the people about the women's journalist, right?
Yeah, it's a cultural point of view, and we need change that cultural point of view.
Of course, hopefully, our research can be contribution to give the discourse to public about change view about the women's journalists, especially women's sports journalists. Yeah, I will be continue the next research question. This time with you, this research question. In Indonesia, I have the 2-point research question is about how the role woman journalists in sport news coverage, like I said before, and then how the woman journalism is the representation in that their report. So I use the 3 theoretical representation from the Stuart Hall, how the production of news is a lot of the meaning concept in the language, and also sport media complex in the, especially in the inside newsroom, how the complexity between woman and the man writing about news, especially in the sport, what the position woman in the field, photographer, and etc. And from the perspective feminism, I use feminism post-structuralist. Why I use this? Because woman and man berkelindan is very blend, mix with a lot of meaning, especially in the language. Because the point of the feminism post-structuralist is about how feminism and masculinity is actually blended with the struggle, with a lot of meaning, but in the inside this have the political struggle for the woman's right. Now, in this case, I can explain about how actually the writing news is around about how their voice about the woman's right and everything else, but in the middle, in the not extremely. I mean, now in the finding result, this is after with the interview with the 5 people, 5 women's journalists from Kompas.com, Bola Sport, Pikiran Rakyat, Kompas, yeah, and Tempo. Yeah, I have 5 from the media online Indonesia because mostly now women's journalist sport is in the media, online media. We have a lot of online media now in Indonesia. The biggest is Kompas, Detik, yeah, and etc. Have the 3 main point the interview I find it. First, have the challenges. Challenges is about lack of opportunity. There are many opportunity to meet with the resource of the news. Sometimes very few. Sometimes you cannot meet him because you not understand about the soccer example. Underestimate, you maybe in Colombia is still fine. It's underestimate because you woman and etc. Also information. Sometimes information inside the newsroom also very limited to the woman. The second I finding is discrimination, gender stereotype. Gender stereotype is example. Woman cannot be photographed in the field when the soccer, if even they have the space, but they are still okay. You woman, you must be a little bit slowly on everything else. Also rejection when the woman want to sometimes to the room of the soccer player can be joined, or the bus, even in the bus. I have one from the Malang, from Bola Sport or fine. She tell to me, because his woman cannot be inside to the bus of player soccer. So have the player soccer want to out from the stadium for bus. Many press can be report inside the bus, but the woman can be not, because you are a woman, so you cannot put into the bus. This has happened and in the Malang, yeah. I have with Bola Sport or Kompas.com journalist. I forgot, but she tell me about that. Also harassment. Now harassment in here, not harassment touch, but verbal. Example, yeah, because sometimes, yeah, woman and ecstasy, you're sexy and everything else is happen. And in the stadium, especially in the soccer, in the stadium, you see also some harassment by verbal, sweet, like that, yeah, like that. It's harassment and verbal. Everything is still happen. And the three I find in the front line. In the front line, I mean when in the field, the woman just be to cover to relation, access and approach, because sometimes the director of the newsroom give to the woman journalist, go to the resources, interview for can be correct any information, because they believe if can talk with the woman, can open. Now sometimes use the woman for that in the front line, in the news reporter or news field. So this is I find finding of the after interview with the 5 woman journalists in Indonesia. In the related with the theoretical framework, we can find the presentation is covering same like you before. Sometimes host reporter in television is just artist, body, beautiful, and ecstasy for the view of the masculinity. In here, representation covering is about quiz and ecstasy, and also representation is now in the like before when he interview resources. Also knowledge of sport, the presentation knowledge sport is have the underestimate, and also related with the inside the newsroom, because the problem with the rules, sometimes the rules, the woman when I have result, just discussion about sport is limited, especially soccer. So woman just writing about maybe the favorite athlete, like maybe example, writing about the Beckham, like that. And also this is for content. This is related with the theoretical theory. Conclusion. The conclusion is discrimination and stereotype have happened, but soft. I mean, soft is like I said before. Yeah, you just woman. Yeah, yes, stereotype. A woman can be writing sport and everything. Like I said before, women are still stereotyped, weaker, especially in the field coverage. In the coverage news, it says stereotype. Report from female journalists, but have the positive. From female journalists, report is more detailed than men. If he writing news about sport, very, very complete detail. And I was talk also with the woman journalist, especially the photograph in the Pikiran Rakyat. She is photograph in the field. Is said in photograph, woman is more detailed in the color, zoom in, zoom out than the man, because the man is mostly the view from men. Is the picture, the presentation is more masculinity, more men. But from woman, the picture out is very detailed. I was want to see this picture, but is still not sent to me. I want to looking what your creation from the picture, because she said, yeah, a woman photograph is more detailed than man. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I still waiting a photo. But she said about that. And the last, in the newsroom, yeah, now this is finding is very interesting. In the newsroom, woman is just 2 years or maybe 1 years in the desk room of sport. After that, they are changed to the desk political, desk economy in the newsroom. So just pass in the sport is not temporary, not permanently, just temporarily in the sport news. Because like from career more higher from the sport news.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the my presentation about Indonesian view in the woman sport journalist. So maybe before I open asking, do you have the discussion or little bit discussion us about the presentation?
Okay, Meistra. In first place, I want to mention the conclusions of your knowledge. It's very similar. Are the vision, and I have to construct in my country. You know, for example, in the women sports journalists in Colombia, the quality of the job is very dangerous because in the financial and the security of the job for the women sport journalists, the conditions are very fragile. That is a first point of view with similarity about Colombia and Indonesia. In other sense, for example, the role of the woman sport journalist in Colombia, in general, is slow in the, I don't know, in the quality of the role. You know, for example, in Colombia papers, in Colombia TV, in Colombia digital media, the woman sports journalists not don't access for the director roles, for the editors roles. They are traditional masculinity roles. Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And the woman only in a particular cases can to access at that class of roles. Executive roles are for man and not for woman. You know.
Yeah.
And in the other sense, the dream of the woman sport journalist in Colombia, in multiple cases, are vinculated with other sports different of the soccer. But the problem is the soccer is the unique sport with a high grade of economic of the good economic conditions for the women sport journalists. For that reason, the election in many cases is only for the financial conditions of the job, not ever for the passion, for the real passion with the soccer, because but is the only economic
reason
solid sport and solid job.
Oh, so this is not like I find in my interview with the one of my respondent, she said because beginning youngest, she is very hobby with sport, like sport and everything, and that's why he applied for job for the sport, but for the sport, desk. Yeah, but same like to you, in the sport desk, she is not permanent. So after 2 years she's changed to the politics desk or economic. But the starting point is from the sport desk. Yeah, this has happened too in the Colombia, or economic reason, but maybe have the deeply from your respondent is very. I'm interested with the Messi example, or Ronaldo. That's why I like it to writing sport.
Yeah, and for example, our soccer women national team, it's classified for the World Cup, Women World Cup, who is in the next week. It's go in Australia and New Zealand, and the Colombian women national team, it's go for that competition. But in the Colombian media, the presence of that topic in the media agenda is very small. Yeah, the presence of that news is very small. No, don't have the dimension. For example, with the Colombian masculine soccer team win against Germany three days ago in the preparation game, and that is a big news in our media. But the women classification at the World Cup is small in the media agenda, and it's a very big problem because the Colombian audience don't dimension in the similar impact to the disinformations. The main information is very big, and the women's information is very small.
Okay, so I get it. Is about the Women's World Cup, yeah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you explained that Women's World Cup is very few report in Colombia.
Yeah.
Same like in
and that decision in the media, it's because the editors and directors are men, and for that point of view, the woman classification isn't important like the man national team game, preparatory game.
Oh, okay. So still dominate hegemonic by masculinity and men in the role of the sport news and the sport view. I think the problem is same, Indonesia, especially in the news sport. Many more deeply about the men's perspective. So if thinking about sport, women's soccer, etc. is very little, maybe nothing talking about that, nothing report about that. Even World Cup women's, like, last year or 3 years ago when the US championship with the very epic picture, the woman, the picture of woman is big news actually, but in here still have the coverage about that. And also, like I said before, the Colombia winner, this is also very few reports. So I think this is still same, hegemonic of the male school reporting is still same between you and me. Okay, between you and Indonesia, Colombia and Indonesia. Okay, now I'm open to the question, maybe little bit question to open to our student. Saya membuka pertanyaan, silakan kalau ada yang ingin bertanya. 2 mahasiswa. Silakan jika ada yang ingin bertanya kepada Francisco tentang bagaimana perkembangan perempuan olahraga di Colombia. Silakan, saya buka untuk mahasiswa membuka pertanyaan untuk bisa berdiskusi bersama Dr. Francisco yang sudah menyempatkan waktunya pada hari ini memberikan sharing tentang penelitian beliau di Colombia. Yang tadi dikatakan bahwa masih terdapat diskriminasi, stereotip, dan juga masih didominasi oleh pemberitaan dengan perspektif pria atau laki-laki. Nah, mungkin ada yang saya ingin memantik, silakan kalau ada yang ingin bertanya untuk berdiskusi kepada narasumber kita, silakan bisa buka mic-nya atau kamera, ya, atau mengajukan raise hand, atau juga bisa silakan kirim ke kolom chat. Jadi nanti kalau mau nanya dengan bahasa Indonesia, nanti bisa akan saya translate, atau mau langsung bertanya. Silakan mungkin yang terutama yang IKP 2 ya. Ya, IKP 2 ini ya. Yang kemarin ingin bertanya silakan. Saya buka untuk melakukan pertanyaan kepada ini apa namanya? Bapak Francisco dari Los Libertadores Colombia. Silakan. Kalau yang nanya silakan. Anybody is asking? Oke, ada UBK Alister. Oke, silakan. Mr. Alister. Silakan, Alister. Silakan buka mic-nya kalau ingin bertanya. Silakan, Alister. Ya.
Oke.
Wait a minute. Ya. Oke, silakan. Silakan, Alister. Oke. Ya, I think ada dari Dina Sudarmika. Nah, she is lecture. My colleague. Okay, Mrs. Dina, please open your mic.
Hello. Good
Yes.
night, Mr. Meistra. I am not using my hijab, so I.
Okay, no problem.
Okay. Very interesting, but I send my question in chat room. But okay, maybe I can ask to the Dr. Francisco. Talking about discrimination for women in Colombia, is there any state invitation in discrimination against one woman in sport in Colombia related to a politic or just something just like movement in politics or no? Can you explain it? Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, Mr. Meistra, I am not on cam, okay? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dina.
Mrs. Dina.
Yes, thank
Thank
you.
you, Dina.
Yeah, good night, Mr.
I appreciate.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Dina, for your question. It's very clear. You know, in Colombia, in this moment, the political movement is very big about the gender equality in multiple aspects of the woman life in the country, and in the sport journalism specifically. We have some projects to create and to development by women. In this end, the Colombian government, in this time with Gustavo Petro is the president, have a very solid agenda for try to perfection the conditions for the woman in different job and different laws. In that sense, I believe the women sport journalists can to create better conditions for the job in the next months and the next years.
Okay. Hello.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
Miss Dina?
Yes. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. It's
Thank you, Dina.
yes, big influence. Yes.
Yes, big influence. Yeah, big influence.
Enough, Mr. Meistra, and thank you, Dr. Francisco. Good night.
Thank you, Mrs. Dina. Mrs. have the question in the chatting site from Alistair. What do you think about the game of football in Indonesia?
Oh, okay. You know, in the recent weeks, I very interesting in the Argentina game against Indonesia.
Oh, okay.
You know, Argentina is a very big team, but I think the soccer league in Indonesia is in expansion. It's need to work with more determination in the structure of the soccer league and to produce better players, better local players, Indonesian players, and that is the point, the key point for the Indonesian soccer. It can to compete with the big countries in the Asia continent, you know, like Japan, Iran, Australia, the big countries in the Asian soccer, you know. But in the recent weeks in my country, we are talking about the possibility of Radamel Falcao Garcia. It's our emblematic player, and he plays in the Rayo Vallecano in Spain, and playing the Atletico de Madrid, the Manchester United, and other European teams. Maybe can play soccer in the Malaysian league. No, it's not Indonesian league, but it's very you know the similar level of soccer countries, Meistra, maybe.
Yeah, in Indonesia, have the League Two and also have the player from the Latin, like Christian Gonzalez.
Christian Gonzalez, yeah, of course.
He play in Indonesia, and also saya tidak tahu. Apakah kalian tahu siapa pemain Latin yang main di Indonesia? Mungkin ada yang tahu. Maybe anybody in here now who the Latin player in Indonesia, but is famous is Christian Gonzalez is playing in Indonesia. Also from Africa, and yeah, many too from ini. But yeah, Indonesia Argentina is a few days ago on Tuesday. It's very interesting because the World Championship playing in Indonesia.
Very good.
Very lost 2-0, the winner from the Argentina, but yeah, still good pay. And the planning next maybe with the Brazil or Portugal.
Oh.
Yeah, Indonesia maybe FIFA match day, because you know FIFA match day is international friendly match, and then but I wanna looking maybe same like Alistair is view Indonesia football. Why? Because the Indonesian football is still struggle to more forward champion in the world championship or ATC. I want to know how, maybe not representative, but I will be asking to ordinary people in Indonesia, asking, how about the soccer in Colombia? How can be, yeah, you know, Latin America, Colombia, Brazil, Argentina is the king of football in the world.
Yeah,
maybe you can say to us.
Yeah.
how the Colombia football system or transformation and finally can be produce the very big player in the world. Maybe
Yeah,
can,
we have a good players in the world, you know, but in the last 2 or 3 years, Colombia it's failed and don't qualify for a Qatar World Cup. We don't have in Qatar, and Colombia in this moment need to development a new team for the World Cup of 2026 in USA, Canada, and Mexico is the next World Cup, and we have a very good players, but the organization of our federation is slow. We need more. We need a project, more solid project. And for example, we have Luis Diaz in Liverpool Football Club. We have Juan Guillermo Cuadrado in Juventus from Italy, and we have Rafael Santos Borré in Eintracht de Frankfurt in the Bundesliga in Germany. We have the tier country, the fourth country with more players exportation in South America is Colombia. Only Brazil, Argentina, and Uruguay have more players out of the countries. And then and then it's Colombia, and for that reason we need to improve the quality, because we have the potential for to win the Copa America, and to classify for the World Cup.
Oh, so many have the chance to the players playing in the World League, professional and class, right?
Yeah.
It's very will be learning from Indonesia about the Colombia.
But you know, will be very good. Colombia go to dispute a game with Indonesia in Jakarta,
yes.
Or maybe Indonesia come from Barranquilla.
Will
be very good.
Must be from the federation can do that.
Yeah. Maybe in the next years, you know.
Yes. Okay, I have the question too from the Sarina. Maybe Sarina can be open mic. I think this is from journalist or ATC, from guests. Yeah, please, Sarina, please open the chat column chat, yeah. In the chat column, have the name Sarina. Could you open the mic if you want a question? Okay, maybe I reading the question, right? Thank you for the opportunity. I would like to ask question for both of you. Oh, so for you and me. What are your recommendations to various stakeholders to increase participation of female journalists in sport, especially related to the unequal treatment received by women in this field? Thank you. Wow. Okay, very nice question. Do you know the question?
Yeah.
And maybe first.
It's very clear and a good question.
Yeah, good question.
You know, the key aspect is the consistency of the woman in the sports journalism. The woman need work in that field, and to development in the skills of the knowledge and the visibility from the audience, because the presence of the woman sport journalists in the countries like Colombia or like Indonesia if need to to transform, to change the culture of the masculinity. You know, it's only a topic, a traditional topic. We need to transform that, because the point of view of the woman sport journalist is very interesting. And you know that, Dr. Meistra, the detail attention of the woman, the vision of the aspects of the men we can understand is very interesting. And the woman sports journalists can to abort the sports like a culture, like a social phenomena in a different form, with the man understand the sport. We are more basics in the knowledge of the sport, and the women are very detailed, very special in the sports knowledge. That is my vision about this.
So you more to the knowledge to the sport, right?
Yeah.
Or the stakeholder can be input to the stakeholder of the news sport, right? Recommendation.
Right.
Yeah, your recommendation, right? Yeah, I think for me it is same, a little bit same, but more technically is the sport institution of a newsroom, ATC, not just in Indonesia, maybe in Colombia too. It's massive. Give more space to the woman. Can be capability writing about sports. Yeah, like example, to the writing about soccer news. I think give opportunity to the women can be writing sport news, soccer, with them perspective. And secondly, don't knowledgeable again, and also give the some I don't know, I think education or FTC about literation about women's in sport journalists, example, women's more extremely about women's right and everything, and ATC about women's right and everything, to have the few perspective about news, example. Yeah, I think this is back again. Yeah, the recommend to the stakeholder and sport institution and sport news online or media mainstream to can be make literation. But I think more sport organization and sport newsroom is do that. But I think opportunity must be give open to the women's to writing about sport, because like I said before in my finding result interview, some woman is interesting with sport because hobby and also favorite player. This is the opportunity to can be directly calling writing news about sport. This is starting point, and give more space for women to writing about sport in the woman's view. I think this is about treatment to the unequal in the woman's sport. Okay, the last.
Dr. Meistra, Dr. Meistra, another possibility, very big possibility, is the woman can create more journalist project for the woman sport, because in the traditional media it's a very complex structure, very classic structure. But if the woman can create new projects, is other form to to increase the visibility in the stakeholders in the audience for the women sports and the women sports journalists too.
Yeah, and also literation. So that's why I like some recommendation or some of the input to us research, or sometime maybe help in the publication, or another chapter book or journal, or also maybe our project can be like input recommendation to the our stakeholder, maybe recommendation to Colombia sport news or sport institution, and from in here can be for the recommendation our research to the sport institution in the Indonesia or sport newsroom in Indonesia, and we can each other can be give like some training literation to the women's journalists about how can be them writing voice or writing the same right with the men in the newsroom, especially in the sport. This is opportunity for the dead, Francisco.
Yeah. It's a great idea.
Yeah. The last is I saw Arnie have the right hand, right? Oh, okay, Arnie, can you open the mic? Arnie is one of the student in the classroom. Yes, too. Yeah, please, Arnie, if you wanna open. Don't be shy.
Udah bisa. Ini mau coba Pak.
Oke, silakan.
Kalau di bahasa Indonesianya gini, bagaimana wartawan olahraga
Will you open the camera?
Oh, boleh bentar, Pak.
Okay.
Sebentar, Pak.
Okay. Okay. Go ahead, Arnie. If you can in English.
Oke, jadi pertanyaan saya itu, Pak, bagaimana wartawan olahraga wanita menghadapi stereotip gender dalam meliput olahraga. Nah, how do women sport journalists deal with gender stereotypes in covering sports gitu, Pak?
Okay, Arnie, thank you. How the women's covers with the men's view, right?
I don't understand. Meistra,
how female journalists combat gender bias or against gender bias or stereotype in their reporting? Oh, how?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You know the way in that sense need a very strong attitude from the women sport journalists, because the stereotypes is a complex reality, you know. But the most important item for that is the knowledge. You know, the women need to knowledge the sports, to knowledge the sports journalists, and from that point of view, the opportunities in the media, in the traditional and in the new digital media, can open more space for the woman. But the principal aspect is the knowledge and the passion, the real interesting vision about the sport journalist, and not only like a hobby, because it's like a profession, and the jobs and the opportunities in the women sport journalists is very big in the whole world. You know, maybe in our countries is a professional process in construction in this moment, but in the next 20-30 years, that is a real interesting and real strong field, and the knowledge is the key for the next woman sport journalists. In your university, Dr. Meistra, and in my university, the potential of the woman sport journalist information is very big, you know.
Okay, but have the concrete solution or concrete iteration do in the combat the biased gender in the sport news? Is have the literation or study about that, Mr. Dr. Francisco?
Yeah, and the laws, we need transformation in the laws of the government countries, but because the quality of the job, the salaries, the time in the jobs is really soft, and we need that conditions change, and the woman sport journalist can work with security in the different media centers.
Okay, so I think you have the recommendation is give opportunity to the women's journalists like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I menambahkan ya from the Francisco to combat bias gender. It also can be by how the women's journalists in the narration menulis berita, in the narration of the news report, this is opportunity to the woman can be combat the bias gender. You know, like I said to you before in my finding result in the interview, she said is woman's writing sport news is more detailed than the man. I think this is the opportunity, the one point opportunity to the woman more growing literation about combat bias gender. And how to be that, so must be more literation, more education to the journalists as whole, not just women's journalists, not just men journalists, but as whole journalists about how the writing news report. And I think this is can be same like in Colombia issue, right? And you said it's now more knowledgeable, not just body, to the become women's journalists. So this is space opportunity, like the question from from Arnie, right? Is combat bias gender. The one point is for the narration of the news in the report, news report.
Yeah, and in the news report, talk about more stories of the women sports agenda, you know, because it's isn't good with the women sports journalists only talk about men sportsmen or men sports, masculinity sports. No, the women sports journalists need to talk about women sports.
Right. Good point. Yes. Right. Women's sport, like
It's a principal. It's a principal point, because that combination, women sport journalists talk and visibility, more women sports, is the key point by the society understand the really I don't know how do you say, the really importance, the really quality of the women sports and the equality of gender. You know?
Yeah, I know.
Is that?
Yeah, is the problem now? How can be intervenes this in the institution like newsroom or maybe another related with the newsroom? Yeah, in the report and everything else. This is the point problem or the point uh, the door ya, pintu masuk for the uh, literation about the woman's right in journalism. And also, like I agree with you, the woman is must be writing about not just the mainstream sport like soccer and etc. You know,
Yeah.
actually like multi-event like Olympic. Yeah, in Asia, I have the Asian Game or SEA Games in Southeast Asia region now. Multi-event sport is also space opportunity to women's writing about sport because many
Yeah.
sport like badminton. Yeah, Indonesia also have the badminton. Badminton is very famous, popular in Indonesia. So in the
Okay.
badminton, this is give space to the woman too, and then also maybe athletic. Yeah, because we are very few talk about athletic. Yeah, this is multi-event. This is space opportunity too for woman can be writing about new sport like you said before, not just soccer, but another sport is give space. So that's why I think we can same perspective about this, Dr. Francisco.
Yeah. Yeah. It's right, and
Mm.
the possibility of to approximate the institutions like the Olympic Indonesian Committee, for
Mm-hmm.
example, or Indonesian Football Federation, maybe,
Mm-hmm.
because in that global institutions, the sports representatives around the world have and need to transform the vision of the classic sports like a masculinity way, you know,
Yeah.
and in the Olympic Committee, the Football Federation, they are create new ways for the women sports and the women sports journalists, and that is other option.
Yes, I'm agree. So for the bigger federation, it must be starting point to give uh, inspiration to the another small federation like Olympic World, Olympic Regional, and to the Olympic local in Indonesia and national, because this is the implementation is must be have like the rules, the ethics code, etc. To give rules, to the guidance. I guidance, give the guidance to how can be woman's guidance to woman's journalist writing. But yeah, also cannot be like extremely writing about women must be right to the writing journalist, not like that, but maybe some of the guidance when it comes to ethic to not have the discrimination or bias gender in the news. I think it's main point, good point from you, Francisco, Dr. Francisco, your input and your view about this. And we can continue this view in our writing because we still have another way is finishing our
the last question for
okay,
for
Mrs.
you,
Dina now.
Meistra. No,
okay, please, Mrs. Dina, on the cam now. Okay.
Dr. Francisco said there is freedom for women journalists in Colombia, but can you tell me or can you describe how the freedom of women journalists in Indonesia, Dr. Meistra, as your view? How can you tell?
Yeah, you ask to Francisco first?
No. For you, Dr. Meistra.
Oh, for me. Okay.
Yeah. Is
Like,
the different? Is that different?
okay, to the Francisco?
Yes. Yes, both of you.
Okay, I Francisco first.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, in Colombia, we have a real progress in the gender equality in this moment. Yeah, it's a really important transformation, and part of that transformation, Dina, is the freedom of the woman for to work in the woman sport journalism. But in the traditional culture, in the society, we need to work very, very hard, because in the people mentality, the vision is it's very classic too. It's very conservative, But in the practice, in the media context, it's really freedom. For the woman, can work in the women sports journalism. Yeah.
Okay, in my view, based on the interview with the women's journalist sport, I have the data. It's around 100 of the women journalist sport now, around 150 women journalists. Data from my respondent, my women's journalist sport, Mrs. I forgot the name, but she said it's 150 journalists. So more growing than a few years ago, a decade ago, just a few people. Now it's hundreds. And I don't know, maybe now, this is data from the last year, yeah. But I don't know, now maybe more growing. And also have the opportunity to women's journalists leading, menjadi kepala bagian pemberitaan olahraga, leading sport news, like in the Kompas.com example, like in the Jakarta Post example. She is the leading of the director of the sport news. But the problem is hanya sementara, just temporary. This is like batu pijakan menuju ke berita selanjutnya. So yeah, I also want to talk about my finding in the interview. It's very interesting too. If the sport news she is leading, like director of news in Bola Sport or Kompas.com, I forgot. After the news is very big, dapat respon banyak, kayak semacam in the survey is sport news in this media is very grow. She is changed to the desk of politics or economy. So after the news big in the sport, so sport after position is very after position news sport is very grow, and she is the leading. She is changed to the another desk like of economic or politics. So that's why I said in the one side is growing up, but in the other side still have phenomena like a problem like that about that. So, but from the fact of the quantity, yeah, also it's more growing. Is have the growing up about the to women's journalists. It's like that, Mrs. Dina.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Dina.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Francisco and Dr. Meistra.
Thank you. Thank you, Dina. Thank you very much.
Okay, maybe you have the last question, and after that we can conclusion, Mr. Dr. Francisco. Have the from Rifki Alam, the chat room. Will you open the mic or camera? Or I am directly question? Okay. What's your opinion about discrimination in women journalism? Is the government must make specific rule about discrimination on women journalism? Okay, maybe first to you, Mr. Dr. Francisco.
Excuse me, Meistra. Can you repeat me, please, the question?
Okay. What's your opinion about the discrimination in the woman journalism? Is the government must make a specific rules about discrimination on women journalism?
Okay. Okay. In my country, in Colombia, I believe in the next 10 years, the discrimination is practically over, because the rules and the laws about this item are very hard in this time. And for that reason, the reality of the discrimination is changing every day. But in terms of the economic approach and the opportunities for the woman in the different sectors of the economy, and the work of the woman sport journalists are very small. You know, we need to open the opportunities, because the traditional media don't guarantee the great number of opportunities for the woman and her jobs. And the discrimination can to produce in two ways. One way is don't have access for the job, but the other way is the small places, the small opportunities to access at the media. And in that sense, Colombia need to progress in this point.
But have the plan or have the do by some maybe civil organization or the association organization to give the solution for that?
Yeah, for example, the job ministry, it's an institution with that influence, but in the sense of the women association, for example, we don't have a journalist women association. That don't exist in Colombia, but will be a great possibility, maybe, because don't exist that class of institution, and it's very important because the discrimination need the rules for open more opportunities about the women journalists and the women sports journalists too.
Yeah, that's why the literation, back again to the literation and the our work in academics must be more strongly to share the discourse about how the woman's journalists right, because the problem discrimination, like you said before, in Colombia, yeah, you don't have the association woman journalist sport. In here also same, but the discourse, the narration about, especially about sport, is mostly mainly by men.
Yeah,
like I use the theoretical framework, the representation sport media complexity subjeli, like I said before. This is the main point, how the newsroom and also how to media framing and media content is mostly the man perspective and man masculinity. And yeah, you said in Colombia it's the same, because it's a traditional thinking, not thinking, but traditional view about this still permanently useful in the media institution. So I think the education literation about women's rights, about feminism and etc. is doing well in the government institution or civil organization. But still again, same again, the narration and discourse is still dominated by men masculinity. That's why yeah, the opportunity have in the writing of report news about sport. The women have the space in there. So this is must be practically in the in your teaching, maybe in your university and our in university, to give how to the writing news for the all perspective, not just as from a man perspective, but like from the woman's perspective about how to writing this. So that's why this is main point to woman in this space, because if space like have the institution, organization, ethic, and activity, I think all do that. But back again to the self itself to make like negotiation about that.
Yeah, and the academic world, you know, Bung Karno University, Los Libertadores University, that is a key aspect for the transformation of the discrimination, because the woman, the future journalist woman, can to explore these options from the university, and then they can to go at the productive world, the industry of the journalists, and they are prepared for that possibility.
Yes, of course. The more important is possibility more closely between you, Los Libertadores University, also us, also in Bung Karno also have now like I am in the Bung Karno Sport Communication Institute, Bung Karno Center for Sport and Communication. So it is an opportunity to in this organization, and also in the university we can give into the university and department to give opportunity like together between Los Libertadores and us to make some point of view about the literation this. But before the end, we have the director of the Department of Communication, Ibu Galuh, Mrs. Galuh. Yeah, he is a woman and director of the Department of Communication, Bung Karno University. Maybe can you give some little speak before closing?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Meistra. Hello, Dr. Francisco. I'm Galuh from Communication Department. This is an honor for us to be invited in this Zoom meeting with fabulous topic tonight. Thank you so much, Mr. Meistra and Dr. Francisco. I think I also agree about our discussion tonight, and especially we have announced practically in Indonesia, which is mostly journalists write in the man perspective, but some journalists didn't write it in the feminist style. So maybe future we can exchange more experience, more story, anything, especially in sport communication. I think that's all, Mr. Meistra. Thank you.
Mrs. Galuh. Okay. Thank you very much. Maybe okay, the last again from because I have the Mr. Galuh Department Commission from the director and also lecturer, Mrs. Dina, Mr. Faisal, and I know Mr. Faisal is have the maybe small, little bit. Please, no, enough, Mr. Dina, Mrs. Dina.
No, thank you, enough.
Okay, okay, Mr. Francisco, you can respond and also conclusion the last word from this discussion.
Dr. Meistra, thank you for this meeting. This webinar is a great opportunity to knowledge more about the vision of women sport journalism in Colombia and Indonesia, like our research. And I have a very, very interesting conversation, point of view. And I want, we have the great opportunity to construct a vision, an integral vision about the phenomena in our countries. And I am sure we have interesting process and interesting conclusions. And in the next step of our research, we can create visibility and concrete the publication of this class of meetings and interviews with the women sport journalists in Colombia and Indonesia. Thank you very much for your time and for the invitation.
Okay, Mr. Francisco, I'm also would like to say thank you very much. Many thanks for your time, for your presentation. Is very great presentation, and also discussion today is very interactive and very interesting topic with the many questions. And also thank you to opportunity us about our publication next planning research about this, and hopefully the output of our research can be useful in the many stakeholders in sport organization or sport news. And once again, very thank you, Mr. Francisco. We know about a year, yeah, mostly a year, a month. We still intensive discussion, intensive meeting, intensive more this talk about this research, and this is one step again to more concrete publication. Once again, thank you very much, Mr. Francisco. Success and good luck for you in your career in the Los Libertadores University, and maybe sometime we are waiting if you have the opportunity come to Jakarta. We are the Bung Karno University very openly. You can give teaching and lecturing in our department on our university and meet with our student. And also I would like thank you to all student from the semester 4 Bung Karno University with the very excellent job, very excellent organized, and very excellent attending. You are the best, and hopefully this webinar, this discussion can be useful and can be more openly perspective to all participants tonight about sport, especially about sport journalists or women journalists in the global view, because this is very important. We can know about how the phenomena sport communication, especially how phenomena communication in the part of the world. Once again, thank you to Mr. Dr. Francisco, our student in the semester 4 of the Bung Karno University, our director department, Mrs. Galuh, for attending, and also our colleague, Mrs. Doctor too. She will be Dr. Karno Dina Sudarmika.
Not yet.
As soon as possible. Doctor.
Ongoing, okay.
Ongoing, ya. Beasiswa ongoing ya, Bu. Okay. And then also to all participants tonight from Bung Karno University and outside Bung Karno University, to thank you very much once again. And before we are at the end, maybe we can open the cam, we photo together. Okay, please open the cam if you have.
Ayo di foto bergaya, salam komunikasi. Salam komunikasi.
Boleh.
This is the symbol of greeting of communication, Dr. Francisco. You can do as we did.
Cool.
Okay, salam komunikasi, greeting communication.
Oke, semuanya udah? Masih ditunggu yang masih buka, kalau belum, oke, berarti saya langsung aja ya. Oke, I'm ready. 1, 2, oke, 1, 2, 3. Oke, in the page 2. Oke. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Once again, thank you very much all. Dr. Francisco, thank you. Stay
Thank
healthy.
you, Dr. Meistra.
Thank you very much, Francisco. I'm very thank you. And all, thank you. Stay healthy.
Yes.
Okay.
Good night.
Okay, thank you very much you. Bye-bye. Yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
See you in Indonesia.
See you, Francisco. Thank you.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.